So what are the typical triggers? 6 main triggers we have to identify over the years, both based on experience on both sides of the fence. So first of all, it's about your spend level. So if you are used to be spending a lot of money with a particular vendor for some one way or the other, that revenue stream is drying up, whether because as a business you're downsizing, or you're just strategically moving from that away from that vendor. That is a very big trigger point, because the vendor will believe that, oh wow, if you're moving away, there isn't a strategic relationship to be built anymore. Why don't we just audit you to make sure you're paying everything you should? So that's one trigger. Typically, the next trigger is about organization structural complexity. First of all, if you are an international organization with very complex legal structures where licenses can be acquired, multiple channels and centrally, that kind of naturally implies that it's very difficult to manage. Vendors love to work to audit these large, complex organizations, knowing that the risk of finding non-compliance is very high. Sometimes, however, due to the geographic restrictions between the vendors' compliance teams, it can be played to your favor as well, because some of the international vendors will wonder, oh, well, if I'm auditing a bank, an energy company that have 13 countries, subsidiaries over 13 countries, then which audit team should be paying for the audit, which auditors should be used, etc. So that can be used in your advantage as well. But overall, that's structural complexity is one area of consideration. M&A. So if your organization just bought another entity, or if your organization just divested an entity, very likely the licenses is not handled properly during those transactions, buying or selling the entities. And that is a big trigger for vendor to say, actually, it's time for us to come in and audit and see actually, how much more licenses we can sell you. Some of this is down to complexity of licensing models. So I think most of you probably know that for the desktop end user side of the software, where the licensing model is very straightforward per user, per installation, the risk of massively running over or incurring a multiple on the compliance liabilities is relatively low, versus where you have data center products where the licensing metric is very complex, based on different models, CPU powers, processing speed, concurrent sessions on storage terabytes, etc. Those are the metrics the vendors know that you won't be able to manage easily, either manually or by just simply having a generic tool to capture. They will like to audit you more, and then that makes you kind of higher on their agenda. And also, if your organization has grown quite a lot and the pattern of your purchase doesn't reflect that growth, again, you will be higher on the radar. And lastly, you probably won't know this or won't believe this, but license compliance audit, it is a small community globally. Compliance managers between the vendors do meet up socially and professionally, and they do chat to each other. While they probably won't be naming names to say that this bank that we just audited have a huge exposure, but a lot of intelligence exchange. So the chances are, if you're audited by a vendor and you haven't done very well, very soon you're going to get a few more letters kind of knocking on your door. So that's kind of audit target selection stage and the things to look out for, how to stay under the radar.